Hi, everyone.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. Happy Friday.
Yes, it is Friday, the first official week. Getting it in here on Twitch.
Right. Yeah, that brings a close. This is our last show of our first week ever with our new show.
That's right.
Ayo.
And we've got some pretty juicy little news bits here to dive in on.
What's up, Anubis? We've got some juicy news bits. What's up, Lady Spain? What's up, Cade, KDA, Quasi, Ray Skywalker, Reeksy, everybody in the chat. But our first...
It is the sunset today.
It's a sunset today as a nice backdrop for our first piece of news about Nintendo's future Switch plans.
So, in a recent shareholders meeting, they revealed the future plans for the Switch. And in this meeting, the rounds that the company was making also make it clear that whilst what comes next is on their minds, the Nintendo Switch is actually what currently takes priority.
They put this down to two reasons. Firstly, that they have two hardware to focus on, the Nintendo Switch and the Nintendo Switch Lite. The second being that currently the Switch is the focus of their development resources. Furukawa makes it clear that these two factors are what will extend the life cycle of the Nintendo Switch.
In short, you can rightly expect the Nintendo Switch to be sticking around, perhaps even longer than previous generations.
Nintendo also forecasts that 2021 will have a similar impact to this year, with their profits being around the same margin.
And none of this is to say that we won't be seeing some sort of commonly called Switch Pro this year. GamesIndustry.biz reported at the start of this year that this was possible on analysts' predictions.
One of those, Dr. Serkan Toto, predicts that we'll be seeing it by the end of 2020.
And he says, there is absolutely no doubt in my mind that the Nintendo will launch a Switch Pro in 2020. My guess is about a $399 price point. More specifically, I predict 4K support, bigger cartridge sizes, and of course, beefed up components.
He was right about last year having a Switch Lite, but also predicted the Pro last year too, and is now sticking to his guns. So maybe there is some sort of improved Nintendo Switch on the way?
And all of this is to say that Nintendo won't be thinking about their next console for a while.
Keep in mind that though the main thrust of information comes from a shareholders meeting, not a Nintendo Direct. This isn't supposed to tell consumers about what's coming up, but shareholders about how Nintendo is making their money.
And that isn't to say that it's good to know that the Switch is going to stick around. Because some people might actually be wanting some type of newer console to see Nintendo respond to the next-gen consoles.
I could definitely see a demand for a Nintendo Switch Pro. I think that's something that a lot of gamers would be interested in, because while the Switch is powerful, it's not nearly as powerful as as the other consoles that are out there. And also, I don't think you can plug an Ethernet port into a Switch, and it's, the Wi-Fi is old technology. I think if there was a Switch Pro, especially a lot of pro players would be jumping on that, and a lot of, more mid-core or hardcore gamers as well.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we've always talked about is how Nintendo right now has a hold in the mobile gaming market with their Switch, and they've done a great job with that. And if anything, they're the king of that mountain. Mm-hmm. I think there is also a large community that wants them to kind of have the presence like they did for so long when you had consoles that were up against Sony and Microsoft, and they were still making a case in that area of the technology. But I don't know if Nintendo is going to consider that with how well the Switch has done.
The Switch has done so well this year, and even now, gamers are still having a hard time, getting a hold of any Switches, of Switch Lites. You kind of have to hunt to find if there's any, in your nearest Best Buy, or if there are any on Amazon. It's also hard to get a hold of games or hardware, such as the Ring Fit, which I've been trying to get for months, and it's always sold out online. And I think that there's a lot of demand for, Pro controllers, which are also always sold out, it seems. And I don't blame Nintendo for saying, like, hey, we've got a good product, we don't really need a Switch Pro right now. Like, sales of the Switch are still going strong.
Yeah, I agree, and I also, see the other side of, like, how do we market ourselves against Sony's PlayStation 5 and against the Xbox Series X? If they go with a 4K support, and they could pull that off on mobile if they make a better Wi-Fi card or allow an Ethernet to be plugged in. Whatever choices they make, they need to make those choices taking in consideration that there is I would suspect there's going to be a large base of the gaming community that wants that next gen experience to the full extent possible.
I think so too, especially among content creators as well. You know, those individuals who make a living off of their Smash YouTube content or their, you know, their Zelda YouTube content, and how they really would want, you know, more support for those things. And I think a lot of consumers do really follow what those content creators do, which are like similar to what they do for PCs, where maybe a mid-core gamer doesn't need a fancy PC, but if their favorite streamer has certain specs, they might want those specs that that streamer has. And that really pushes sales.
It really does, and it's
thanks for the $100 dono, Panubis.
Hey, wow! Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Wow. Yeah. The thing about Nintendo's place in the industry right now is it's never going to go away. It's a legend. It's an icon. Do you present a Switch Pro, but you also present new software that makes it feel like it can compete with the next Horizon game, or can compete with one of the topics we're going to talk about a little bit later, that's going to be dropping on the Xbox most likely, when we start to see games start to come back out from a long time ago and make a splash in this next gen wave.
Right.
Yeah,
and
where's it going to be for them then?
And where's the path going? I mean, the Switch is now going to be playing Doom Eternal in the near future, and a lot of these big games, BioShock, Outer Wilds, and right now when those games are ported to the Switch, there is a significant drop in quality, or at least in graphical quality, but we do see a demand for users wanting to play these games on the Switch. So if the Switch wanted to make a Pro version, which is kind of funny because to me, the Switch was supposed to be more casual, more handheld, it didn't need to be as fancy, but we can see that gamers still want that. They still want that power.
They do, yeah. And if they could pull it off, that would be something too, is if Nintendo's like, we figured it out, we know how to do this, then they'll definitely just corner that mobile market and no one will be able to take over from them. However, if they do come out with their Pro and it's lackluster, I think they've got to shift focus and go back to being like the at-home console. And to what extent can that be, you know, maybe a type of augmented reality experience or a type of a virtual reality experience, sort of like what they seemed like they were trying to do with the Wii. Now would be more of a time to jump back into that fully immersive gaming experience. And
they better make sure that their Joy-Cons work and that there is no Joy-Con drift if they come out with a Nintendo Switch Pro. Because if they're going to slap the Pro name onto a piece of hardware, it better work.
Yes. It better work. But there is another story that has surfaced regarding things that are ahead of us, and that is that it looks like other publishers are considering raising their game prices for the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X.
Game publishers are considering raising the price of games for the PS5 and Xbox Series X, says games research firm IDG Consulting. This follows the news that we reported on yesterday that NBA 2K21 will be priced at $69.99, nice, on the next consoles, which is $10 more expensive than it is on the current devices.
So IDG president, CEO Yoshio Osaki, said in an interview that game pricing has remained flat since 2005. Whereas TV and movie pricing has increased significantly. He says this, quote, "The last time the next-gen launch software pricing went up was in 2005 and 2006, when it went from $49.99 to $59.99 at the start of the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 generation."
CEO Yoshio Osaki goes on to say that during that time, the costs and prices in other affiliated verticals have gone up. Osaki says that the next-gen console game production costs have increased by 200% to 300%, depending on the IP, studio, and genre, but the prices have remained at $59.99. Meanwhile, cinema ticket prices have risen 39%, Netflix subscription costs have gone up 100%, and cable TV packages have risen by 105%.
Continues saying this, that even with the increase to $69.99 for next gen, that price increase from 2005 to 2020 next gen is only up 17%. It's far lower than the other comparisons. While the cost of development and publishing have gone down, actually have gone up, and pricing in other entertainment verticals have gone up substantially, next gen software pricing has not reflected these increases. $59.99 to $69.99 doesn't even cover these cost increases completely, but does move it more in the proper direction.
He continues, quote, IDG works with all major game publishers, and our channel checks indicate that other publishers are also exploring moving their next-gen pricing up on certain franchises for the same reasons outlined before.
Not every game should garner the $69.99 price point on the next gen, but flagship AAA titles such as NBA 2K merit this pricing more than others.
I'm really glad that this research came out, because yesterday we were speculating on this exact thing, and we were wondering, well, have the cost of creating games gone up? Has that gone up? Or has it been easier than ever to create games for next-gen consoles? And here, you know, we now have the information that game production costs have increased by 200% to 300%, which is an incredible jump, an enormous jump, especially considering that the prices of the games haven't really changed much.
Yeah, I feel like as I listen to this information, I digest it with the current gen hardware, right? I don't necessarily know if this still applies with the next gen hardware. And the only reason that I have that take is kind of what has been addressed prior from experts saying is like, we now will have these AI tools that will be assisting developers in making their game. And where it used to be that it would cost you to hire however many artists to design an entire city in a game like The Division, where somebody is going in and creating every single one of those pieces of buildings that you're looking at, we'll now have this program that will just generate it for you, because they'll just have a bucket full of all these pre-rendered aspects and objects. So what does that mean when the cost of creating a city, which would normally cost $30–40 million, is now basically decreased in half, if not zero, and this one AI thing is handling that? Is that true a year from now, 2 years from now?
I also have a few questions about how, you know, they've compared cinema ticket prices and Netflix subscription costs, because I think that a lot of cinema tickets are just way too expensive. Sometimes it costs like $16 to go see a movie, and then on top of that, if you get, you know, popcorn and maybe a drink, like you're looking at $35 for the whole thing. Whereas I'd rather just, you know, stay at home and watch Netflix. And with programs like Netflix, some of these services start off at a really low price point to gain a lot of traction and a lot of subscribers, and then they raise their price to something that's actually sustainable. So I would like to, I guess, like see more into that, and if that price adjustment, you know, really justifies the cost.
Yeah, I love P-Noob's comment there, making a game from your bed, because if I think of like PlayStation's game Dreams, where people are creating games on their own, and we see that teams will come together and make that with the current gen hardware, this is not out of the realm of possibility. Like Bright Memory Infinite, as we talked about yesterday, was made by one person. I think we're going to start to see a lot of these games be developed by these individuals or small groups, maybe 5 to 10 people on these teams. This is going to be the only way that I think that this works is when the studios have enough content in that game that it justifies it. Otherwise, what's going to happen to gaming is probably what happened to the theater industry, as you were talking about. They increased those prices. People stopped going to the movies.
It's too much.
Had to start creating a subscription service, like a monthly fee to come and see movies more, because they made more money on the concession than they did on the ticket prices. I think gaming needs to focus on what people like Phil Spencer have addressed, obviously Sony's addressed, is like they make more money off of their subscription services, off of their, you know, their skins, their digital marketplaces. You're going to increase the cost of your games. You might suffer in those areas as well.
Right, I think some of these companies maybe need to plan smarter or create smarter or also sell smarter, because when I think of games that make a ton of money, I think of Fortnite. And Fortnite is free to play. And as you said, it's because of skins. And I looked in the Fortnite shop today and there were already 3 skins I wanted. And I'm like, that's like $40, $50. Like, I can't spend $40, $50 on Fortnite, like, just for those skins, but I want to. And as you said about Bright Memory Infinite, you know, there are a lot of tools now for new game developers or even existing game developers to be able to create things in dreams. Like someone made a whole Super Mario kind of simulator. It was a clone, really.
Oh yes,
in dreams, and it wasn't perfect, but it was, you know, pretty close. And the fact that you can create that without, you know, spending thousands of dollars on equipment, on even more money on software, you know, to be able to create a game that works and that works well, I think is invaluable, and I think will really spur, you know, maybe a next big wave of new games, and, you know, maybe it'll spark a golden era of game creation.
That's a good point as well too. I would also say I think right now in the current climate of everything that we're all facing and that's going on in this world, talking about a price increase in a medium that is for all of us this means of escaping, and for 30 million, you know, people in the United States that are currently unemployed, for everyone elsewhere who's not able to work and money's not coming in because this is just a global disruption that we're facing. Talking about increasing costs on something like this, I think is the wrong time. You might want to delay that till next year when the economies start getting healthy again and people start to make more money. But this could be a really bad choice just as a whole for the gaming industry if they shift in this direction with the next gen.
It is, and I think Xbox Game Pass is in the perfect position right now because they've been trying to be the Netflix of games, and if people can't afford, you know, all of these $70 titles, especially right now, a lot of people have been using their stimulus checks to just pay their bills and their rent and not to actually, you know, spend on you know, toys or games or anything fun, really. So if a subscription service to just have games each month is available, I think that's going to be a lot more appealing to consumers.
Which is where maybe that whole conversation of what Xbox is doing with the Games Pass and putting its focus in the Games Pass is where they may find themselves doing very well in the next gen market. Is that, yes, they may still have those AAA titles that drop their games for $69.99, or if more to have the cross-gen accessibility. But if they have their Games Pass and those games eventually end up on there and it's a cheaper monthly option for people, this could be actually really good news for Microsoft.
It could, and we also posed the question, is now the right climate to be indicating you're making it cost more to quote-unquote escape? Last night I watched Tubi, which is a streaming service that we've kind of joked about. Like, what is Tubi? I don't know.
What is Tubi?
But I had to watch Carol for acting class, and I'm like, I don't want to pay for Carol. It was on Tubi, and I could watch it for free, but I just had to watch ads. And, you know, sometimes I usually have ad block on everywhere, but sometimes I am willing to watch a lot of ads if that means I can, you know, watch something for free. Like I used to do that with Crunchyroll too. Maybe we can see that in the future with games. I don't think that's really been experimented with yet, but I would be willing to watch ads if that meant I could get some playtime in a game.
That's a really interesting. I'm now thinking about that. Welcome,
Why does
gamer.
That exist?
Yeah,
up,
like
gamer?
if you're playing a game and they were like, you're midway through trying to solve this puzzle and it's like, and stop, and here's this ad from Charmin, and you're like, what? I was trying to solve this puzzle. Why would you put the ad right here? I feel like the ads would always go in the wrong place at the wrong time in the game. Because that feels like the way it is on those. You're like, and the climactic moment, and here's this car insurance commercial.
Not now. I thought Tubi actually, they like sectioned out the ads strategically where it was like the end of a scene that they would put an ad in, and I'm just like, I've totally forgotten about seeing ads when watching TV because I always watch Netflix or something that doesn't have any ads in the middle. So maybe that's something that's, you know, percolating in the minds of some developers or some of these companies. I doubt it'll happen anytime soon, but I think that might be a good workaround to these increasing prices if consumers aren't willing to spend that much money on it.
That's a good one, and you deserve, you know, 10 cents on the dollar for every dollar spent if that idea becomes a reality, because you said it right here and I haven't heard anyone else say it. Well, talking about Microsoft as we were with possibly being strong within this Games Pass, there is information that has come out recently, and this lines up because Kaisa, you've been playing this game, but it is now confirmed that Microsoft has renewed the Fable trademark amid all the sequel rumors.
Microsoft has applied to renew its Fable trademark as rumors of a sequel to Lionhead's RPG franchise continue to swirl. The trademark application was filed on June 26th. It's standard practice for businesses to renew trademarks for IPs that they own, but within the current context, it's an interesting move, especially when you notice the intent to use tag, which is marked as yes, despite the current use tag being marked as no, suggesting that Microsoft has future plans for the franchise.
The Fable rumor mill has been spinning for years at this point, and there is plenty of information to dig into. Earlier this week, Microsoft downplayed the significance of a placeholder Fable Twitter account, despite it seemingly having been registered in March of this year by a user with a Microsoft email address. Also, back in November 2017, it was reported that Playground Games was hiring talent for a new game listed as a quote-unquote open world action RPG.
In fact, the developer opened an entirely new studio earlier that year to create Project 2, a game that will not feature any racing, distancing it from the Forza series the developer is known for. Then, in 2018, Playground Games creative director Ralph Fulton told Daily Star Online that the Xbox One X will be the lead platform for the studio's next game.
And this information came just days after a Eurogamer report surfaced, suggesting that a new Fable game was in development at Playground.
If Fable makes a comeback, are any of you going to be playing?
I know I'm there. This is another one of those games for me that has a nice special place in my heart. That time when I was like, I can't remember, in my mid-teens era when I was playing this and just kind of like discovering myself while making these choices in this game. I'm so excited about this news, and this could be very strong for Microsoft going into the next gen.
I think so too. Fable is one of my favorite games of all time, and I've been replaying it recently to see, did I just remember it being good, or was it actually that good? And when I looked that up, I saw a lot of YouTube videos asking the exact same thing of like, was Fable really the greatest game? And I think everyone kind of agrees that it was, phenomenal, but it was just so long ago that a lot of gamers have forgotten, maybe some of the exact plot points about Fable. But I think that this is a perfect time for Fable to come back, especially with all the PS5 exclusives that are out, and there are many. And Microsoft, has a lot of good games under its belt, but I don't think it's really branded them, as Microsoft developed games or under the umbrella of Microsoft Game Studios. And I think it might do them some good to lean on that more.
Yeah, I can't agree more with imagine how good a next gen version of this game will be. And that's just kind of like a moment right there. Even if I think about The Witcher, or I think about Ghost of Tsushima, which comes out this month, 14 days away, everybody. This game can do so much with what the current hardware has. If it's jumping from when it came out to the Xbox Series X hardware, I can't even wrap my head around what we will see in that Fable game. What kind of storylines will play out? What kind of moral decisions? What kind of engine will be there? Will they start to use, the same kind of like butterfly effect engine like we see from Until Dawn? What will be within that story? Whatever it is, I'm all for it.
Me too, and I'm interested in how that affects the NPCs, and how more NPCs will be able to have more life in them. When I was playing this game, as I mentioned yesterday in the stream before, I think this game transcends the graphics that are there because you get so immersed in the story. You kind of forget about, any oversight in the graphics or any bulkiness, but with the next gen, that doesn't have to be compromised at all, and it can also have a beautiful environment as well as compelling storytelling that it's known to have.
Yeah, and right now, Microsoft needs to jump into this first-party launch for the Xbox Series X coming up and show some titles to really draw the eyes away from these PlayStation 5 exclusives like we were talking about, because there's a lot from Sony's end that they're just going to get people on board because you already know the games that are going to probably come out for this console at some point, and you're going to be blown away by them. Microsoft needs titles like a new Fable to put forward to show consumers this is why you want to also be with us when we go into the next gen as well.
What's up, Joey? Welcome to the stream. Exactly.
Follow Joey.
We've seen all these PlayStation exclusives, and Microsoft has had a lot of third-party games that might look really fun and impressive, such as that Rocket League type car game. I forgot what
yes.
it was.
Yeah.
Yes, that was shown at the Xbox event, and they have a lot of good games, but not enough right now to compete with PlayStation or seemingly to compete in the eyes of consumers. And I think this is the perfect time to jump on that with their Game Pass, with their new console. If there are any new games coming out, even if they're not, if they're not that far in development, I think they should be announced sometime around now to keep that hype around Xbox.
I want to make a prediction right here today on the 3rd of July, 2020.
Let's hear it.
Next week, the first-party premiere of the first-party titles for the Xbox Series X. At least, I think we will see a teaser trailer for Fable for the Xbox Series X. I'm going to make that prediction right now.
Hold us to it, chat. Prediction made.
This way, if it happens, there's going to be so much hype around this. It's going to be crazy. I'm excited. I hope I'm right. Please don't let me be wrong.
Thanks so much, Gamer, for the host as well. And
thank you, Gamer.
Another IP that we love, but also has kind of gone by the wayside in recent memory is Fallout. But there is a Fallout TV series coming from Westworld creators.
So this is the part for me that I'm okay with the fact that you're like, the Westworld creators are going to make a TV series based on the Fallout games, and it's in the works at Amazon with series commitment.
The worldwide best-selling game franchise Fallout is headed to television via Prime Video. Following months of deal-making, Amazon Studios has licensed the rights to the games for Jonathan Nolan and Lisa Joy to develop a TV adaptation, which has received a series commitment.
This marks the first major project to come out of the Westworld creators and executive producers' big overall deal with Amazon Studios. The duo's Kilter Films is producing Fallout alongside Bethesda Game Studios and Bethesda Softworks. Prime Video and Bethesda just posted a short Easter egg video teasing the project, and we can check that out.
We will check that out right at the end of our debrief, as the world of Fallout is one where the future envisioned by Americans in the late 1940s explodes upon itself through a nuclear war in 2077. In Fallout, the harshness of the wasteland is set against the previous generation's utopian idea of a better world through nuclear energy. It is serious in tone, yet sprinkled with moments of ironic humor and B-movie nuclear fantasies.
And this is what Joy and Nolan went on to say. Fallout is one of the greatest game series of all time. And this was in an interview. They went on to say this, that each chapter of this insanely imaginative story has cost us countless hours we have spent with family and friends. So we're incredibly excited to partner with Todd Howard and the rest of the brilliant lunatics at Bethesda to bring this massive, subversive, and darkly funny universe to life with Amazon Studios.
The Fallout franchise has posted record sales and received dozens of Game of the Year awards, while its mobile game, Fallout Shelter, has been downloaded more than 170 million times.
Fallout is an iconic global franchise with legions of fans worldwide and a rich, deeply compelling storyline that powers it. And Jonah and Lisa are the perfect storytellers to bring this series to life. This was said by Albert Chang, COO and co-head of television at Amazon Studios. He finished by saying, "We're thrilled to join with Bethesda to bring Fallout to television."
Fallout is from Amazon Studios and Kilter Films in association with Bethesda Game Studios and Bethesda Softworks, with executive producers Jonathan Nolan, Lisa Joy, and Athena Wickham for Kilter Films, Todd Howard for Bethesda Game Studios, and James Altman for Bethesda Softworks. Lionsgate also executive produces.
I mean, there actually has been a lot of Fallout TV series adaptation talk for almost a decade now.
Over the last decade, Howard, who's the executive producer at Bethesda Game Studios, said, "We looked at many ways to bring Fallout to the screen, but it was clear from the moment I first spoke with Jonah and Lisa a few years ago that they and the team at Kilter were the ones to do it right. We're enormous fans of their work and couldn't be more excited to work with them at Amazon Studios."
This is also the overall Kilter Films' deal with Amazon, with the fact that they're currently in pre-production on a techno-thriller drama called The Peripheral, based on the William Gibson novel. which follows a woman in a near future America in which technology has started to subtly alter society. The project had been in development at Amazon when Joy and Nolan inked their last deal, which was last year. The duo also produces HBO's Westworld, which just wrapped its 3rd season and was recently picked up for a 4th season. The series has amassed 43 Emmy nominations along with the DGA, WGA, PGA, and SAG Awards nominations.
Joy recently directed her debut feature film Reminiscence for Warner Brothers, starring Hugh Jackman, Rebecca Ferguson, and Thandie Newton. Joy wrote the script, which landed on the blacklist, and produced with her Kilter Films partner Nolan, Michael DeLuca, and Aaron Ryder. So we have the teaser right here, and let's take a first look at it.
I'm excited and nervous.
And that's all we have. That's the whole teaser.
I love how if you actually look at like YouTube and everything, they're like, let's speculate, and it's like, guys, it's just them saying like this show's coming. There's nothing getting from the story on that.
You can't speculate on it. At least they're going for very gritty. I mean, those noises kind of were harsh on my ears with my very nice headset still of just a
yeah.
Like, okay, so this is an post-apocalyptic world. I've gotten that part.
We understand the setting. The most important thing that should happen that was a genuine tease. That's correct. Yeah, is they should not handle this like Fallout 76.
No, please, no. I was honestly surprised that the article, you know, that we referenced talked a lot about Fallout Shelter, because I don't know anyone who played Fallout Shelter. Anyone in chat? I don't know if you did, Marrone. It was not quite like the Fallout series, but I guess spin-offy enough and, you know, more simplified to be able to play on mobile.
Yeah, I know you could also transfer your resources and things that you collected from Shelter into your Fallout game. So I thought that was pretty cool. Kai Almighty played it, and KDA played it.
Was it good?
Also, Squazzy played it. What do you guys think? How did you guys enjoy it?
So I loved Westworld Season 1, but apparently Westworld Season 2 was really slow, and Season 3, I think, came out, and it kind of devolved, so... When I heard about the Last of Us TV series is going to be produced by the creators of Chernobyl, and Chernobyl seemed to be a slam dunk, knock right out of the park, but Westworld, while it was good, you know, kind of fell apart, so I'm a little more, I guess, skeptical on if it's going to turn out well, and especially if this video game adaptation is going to turn out well, because you have to have, you know, the heart of the story and, you know, the video game and the tone, and you can't just use like a bunch of CGI and expect consumers to enjoy something.
No, Legend of Gamer was saying it's a decent mobile game. Speaking of Fallout Shelter for a little bit, Kai said the same thing, that it got boring afterwards. Okay, so it had somewhat of
for a little bit.
You know, like fun for a little bit factor.
Westworld was fun for a little bit.
Fallout 76 was never fun, so Fallout Shelter is already beating Fallout 76. One thing I want to say is this story is great for live action, for film, for TV. The Fallout universe is wonderful. I really hope they don't lose the humor that is within the Fallout games to be too dark and too gritty, because it's the one aspect of the Fallout storyline that allows you to kind of be okay with some of the stuff that goes on. You're just kind of accepting the fact that everyone's gone crazy and they're going to say some stuff that's just, yeah, what would you say in a setting like this? Or how would you handle this situation? So I hope they don't lose that to make it too like Westworldy, where everybody's whispering at each other.
It's just a show where they whisper the whole time, like Pretty Little Liars, where if someone's like washing dishes while you're watching this TV show, you just miss everything.
Yeah. I think I need some Radaway. Hold on. I'm gonna go outside and hear this poison.
Whispering. I think humor is, you know, really what is the glue for a lot of video games. I'm imagining, like, what would a Portal TV series look like if there was no humor in it? It wouldn't be Portal at all. It would just be some watered down version of it. And I think the tone of Fallout and how it is humorous and how it can be sarcastic or sort of whimsical, really,
yes.
Is important. And you can't just take someone looking at the story on its own and expect that to translate over to TV. I don't know, in this story, I don't think it was mentioned if a lot of gamers are producing this Fallout TV show, which I think is important, as we saw with The Witcher. The video game elements that were in The Witcher TV show, I thought were very well executed. And as a fan of video games, I really liked seeing that in there, in addition to just as a as just a normal viewer of TV and consumer of content, it does add humor that makes it more special than just other TV shows that are out there.
Yeah, and KDA said something right there too. I was just thinking of was like, we need to see characters from these games. What's the radio show host dog? His dog's in his name. Oh, why is it skipping my head all of a sudden? I want to say something else, but it's this. He's on the radio. You hear his voice all the time.
In real life?
In the game.
Oh,
in Fallout
okay,
3.
in Fallout.
Yeah. It's like Free Dog or something. I can't remember what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But he's
Dog Meat?
Maybe it's Dog Meat I think is the dog, but there's a radio show voice he's like the voice of the revolution. He's the voice of the people that are basically trying to fight back against everything that's going on. And
mm-hmm.
and the one thing about that is like you need that character in there. I think you need some of the funnier characters maybe from Fallout New Vegas to make some appearances as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think if they get too carried away with creating too much of their own and not using the IP that already exists that hasn't had a lot of stories told within it, mm-hmm. I think that might deter some people who are from the game community to enjoy it. Three Dog, there it is. Yes, Legend of Gamer. Thank you. Yeah, Three Dog. Yeah,
you got it.
Thank you. Yeah. So, because that's why I was like saying Free Dog. No, Three Dog.
Close.
So. Yeah, when you just take those characters who didn't get a lot of screen time in the game, but they have like a juicy backstory that you hear
mm-hmm.
about, let's jump in and see it and learn about it.
Right, like even the Fallout mobile game, Fallout Shelter, has been downloaded 170 million times. Like that can be a viewer base right there that you can tap into. But if you don't look at those stories from the game, you're not going to pull those people over. And I was wondering, I have a question for you, Marrone, because I haven't played all the games. Oh, thank you so much, Kai. Where would you like to see this story start, or where would you want the TV series to focus on in regards to plot?
That's a great question. I would say, I hope they kind of do this the same way that The Mandalorian did it, where they use that new technology that is like all the screens
mm-hmm,
that are around
all
while
around.
they film. Because wherever they start the story, the one thing that I think needs to be is a lot of practical. I think if we see too much CGI in Fallout, it'll just ruin the feeling that world has.
It takes you out of it.
Yeah, I want as much practical as possible, because that is just going to make you feel like you're right there. But mm-hmm. I would say if you picked up somewhere in between New Vegas's storyline, I think that would be
Thanks, Kane.
Thank you, Kane. I think the New Vegas setting is honestly a good one to start with. People love Vegas. They love the aspect of the casinos and everything like that. So can you imagine starting off in what is a post-apocalyptic, Vegas-like city run
mm-hmm.
as, while we show you the rest of, the Fallout setting and learn more about it? I think that would actually be a great initial start to draw a lot of interest.
I think so too, and I'm thinking that could potentially have a lot of international appeal, because there's just so much hype around like Vegas, like whoa, yes. Like movies that take place in Vegas like have a sense of adventure. And from what I've heard of the Fallout, the whole Fallout franchise is that Fallout New Vegas is really the gem of that franchise, and the story is just so good that I hope that's where they start off, because there's already something good there. Why not just roll with it?
Yep. Yeah, and I'm perfectly fine with them just giving us a main character who's like when you start a game and you create your own main character. Like that is something for me that would be really cool if they even kind of, I know this is kind of like a far-fetched idea and I'm just throwing it out there, but I think it would be cool if we heard from the creators of this show that they were like, we randomly generated a character that you would get in Fallout, and that's our main character, and we're gonna write a story for this character as they journey through.
That would
you know
be
what I mean?
cool, yeah.
That would be really awesome to me if they did that.
It's like the main character is the player.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
That would be a new way to go. That would be truly original, I think.
This would be like a blending of both genres at their core. But I will, I'm guessing we're going to see some big names in the show and people to draw attention towards the show. But I think the base of the gaming community, and especially those around Bethesda and Fallout specifically, I think there's enough numbers there. They don't need to rely on going the typical studio route of like, let's make sure to get all these really big names. Yes. Tell a good story. Just tell a good story. Oh my
God. I hope they don't attach big names to try to make this like a mainstream thing. Like big names can be good because a lot of actors who are big names, are very talented and that's why they're big names. But a lot of them are just like known for being around and don't have the talent to back it up.
Yep.
And I don't want to see any of those kinds of actors in this film. I hope they go for talent. I hope they go for casting. It would be cool to see some unknowns in this, versus just kind of going for... It reminds me of a lot of, like, animation movies. Some people say that they have to attach big names to a lot of animated shows, which sparks a lot of debate, especially if you work in the animation industry. We won't go into that. I'm not saying it's necessarily true. But I would rather, talent be at the forefront. Talent and how people fit into the world be at the forefront of casting decisions for this.
Yeah, I hope they take a page out of the Witcher playbook. I think there was maybe one face out of that show that I feel like I consistently recognized, and that was the lead character.
Right.
Whereas everyone else I didn't really know. So I really hope they go that route with this, and they make sure to include the writers from the Fallout series as much as possible. Just not Fallout 76.
Please, no Fallout 76, no Fallout 76 Wastelanders. If you're going to include parts of the video game in the TV show, don't include the glitches from Fallout 76 because there are many. I think that might be funny at like a fake outtake of like, oh, we tried to film this scene, but everything glitched out too hard. Like maybe it's just like a comedy bit, but not in the show.
Let's just for anybody that may have never seen our show before or know anything about this, I have a very strong disdain for Fallout 76, and I will take any time possible to share my disdain for Fallout 76. And right now is the perfect time.
It is a running joke. Every opportunity we have to dump on Fallout 76, we just might take it.
Yeah. Well, our next story is one that is, it's spicy, and it's not surprising as more people in situations like this need to continue to speak up, and we need to continue to respond to stuff like this because this needs to stop existing.
So, Evo Online was canceled following allegations of sexual misconduct against its president. And Evo Online, for those of you who don't know what it is the Evolution Championship Series, or Evo for short, and it represents the largest and longest-running fighting game tournaments in the world. Evo brings together the best of the best from around the world in a dazzling exhibition of skill and fun, as players and fans gather to honor the competitive spirit in an open format and determine a champion.
It says that our tournaments are about more than just winning. Evo is open to anyone, feature stations available for relaxed free play, and offer unique opportunities to meet people from different countries and different walks of life who share your passion. Established champions face off against unknown newcomers and new rivals that might have only talked or fought online, meet up, and become old friends.
So Evo is a huge event that happens every year. A lot of gamers, especially in the fighting game community, this is an important event for them, and the whole thing was canceled because of allegations against the president. Andy Chalk from PC Gamer reports that in the wake of allegations of sexual misconduct against Evo co-founder and president Joey Mr. Wizard Kuehler, the fighting game tournament's next event has been canceled and Kuehler has been removed from his position.
So the allegations about Kuehler were made this morning in a post shared by longtime fighting game player Mikey Crackporn Fan, who made both general and specific claims, including one that took place when he was a minor. FAM is the only source of the allegations so far, although 2011 Evo champ Jay Viscant Snyder said in a now deleted tweet that FAM had related the same story to him at some point in the past.
Evo moved quickly to address the allegations, saying in a tweet that Keeler had been placed on, quote, administrative leave pending a third-party investigation. But despite that, several hours after the allegations were made, multi-time Evo champion Sonic Fox announced that they were dropping out of the tournament.
Several dozen other players and casters followed Sonic Fox's lead by pulling out of the tournament. Esports commentator Rod Breslau said on Twitter, he said this on Twitter, and Capcom, NetherRealm, and Bandai Namco all confirmed separately that they were withdrawing as well.
And it's a big move for Sonic Fox to have withdrawn. As someone who's not that involved in the fighting game community, Sonic Fox is one of the few players that I really know of because how, prominent he is in the fighting game community. So faced with collapsing support, organizers pulled the plug on the entire tournament, which was to be held over a month-long series of online events beginning on July 4th. It is also announced that it was cutting ties with Keeler entirely.
Effective immediately, Joey Keeler will no longer be involved with Evo in any capacity. We are currently working towards his complete separation from the company and have relieved him of all his responsibilities. This was said by the organization in a statement. Going forward, Tony Cannon will act as CEO in this position. He will take a leadership role in prioritizing great accountability across Evo, both internally and at our events.
They went on to say that progress doesn't happen overnight or without the bravery of those who speak up against misconduct and injustice. We are shocked and saddened by these events, but we are listening and committed to making every change that will be necessary in making Evo a better model for the stronger, safer culture we all seek. As a result, we will be canceling Evo Online and will work to issue refunds for all players who choose to purchase a badge. We will donate the equivalent of the proceeds as promised to Project Hope.
I'm not surprised that more information like this comes to the surface. I think we live in a time where more people realize they do not need to remain silent if they are suffering some form of injustice in the world, and that they are hit with a life experience that is cruel, it is wrong, and it shouldn't have ever happened. I am also on the other side of saying innocent until proven guilty. An investigation is necessary. We need to make sure that we are balanced in our approach. But this is the right approach from Evo, to remove the person from their position, allow the investigation to take place. If you already have enough evidence to say we believe that this is true, not even before seeing the investigation's conclusion, because ourselves have come up with it, as long as it's founded upon that kind of stuff, you are in the right completely. And this is just one of those things for me, like, no one should be even going through this. There shouldn't even be this type of experience for anyone.
I agree. I think that, leadership went about this in, the best way that they could, removing the accused, going into a third-party investigation, and proceeding with that. I am, extremely saddened and angered to hear that, these kinds of events have been happening. There have been a slew of allegations in the fighting game community in addition to this against the Evo president. There have been so many, and it's just, really, there are a lot of really harrowing stories, and it's really hard to hear, but I am glad that, these victims and survivors have spoken up. I'm glad that action is being taken. I'm glad that the gaming community is taking this very, very seriously, no matter how influential these people can be. Evo is huge, and, an accusation or allegation against the president must have been terrifying to make, and I'm glad that these survivors are being heard. And I hope that it changes the community for the better, because I think this whole movement started out specifically, with a lot of women speaking out against powerful men, and we've now heard a lot of men speak out against other men and women, and also children who were affected, and a lot of these children who have now, grown a bit older, old enough to realize what happened to them was just so wrong. And I think that within gaming, because a lot of children are in gaming, a lot of esports players start out really young, there is a duty to protect those players at these sort of events, and I hope that gets taken more seriously, and a lot more people are held accountable.
Yeah, no space where anyone gathers, let alone children who are highly susceptible, very
Impressionable.
Yeah, impressionable individuals and vulnerable. Like all of the things that you could easily take advantage of are within a child, and there should be this unwritten aspect in all of us to never do that to a child in any way, any taking advantage of a child, abusing a child, anything that covers those aspects of life. That would I want this done to me? No, I wouldn't. So I'm not going to do it to someone else.
Right.
And you're right to say that stepping up and saying something about the president of an organization as big as this is a very hard thing to do. It comes with knowing that there's going to be a lot of public outcry and backlash. There's going to be support. There's going to be condemnation. It's not going to be easy to be able to like hide or remain anonymous anymore. You're now going to be an easily searchable person on Google. If you know, jobs in the future, there's just so much that come with this that is a lot to handle for anybody. But it needs to go away, and the only way for it to go away is for people to actually speak out and say something.
Right. Thank you so much, Ray, for the support.
Thank you, Ray.
I am, glad that we're seeing such a change in gaming because of this, and I hope that this isn't just, a wave or a trend that happens. I hope that these kinds of things continue to come to light, because I think a lot of survivors are, I think it helps the movement when a lot of people come forward at once, because you're kind of coming forward, as an unspoken team. And I hope this just continues. Not that I want to hear more stories, but if there are stories that have happened, I really want those to come to light, especially about, children being preyed on at these events. A lot of them said at the time I went along with it, but now that I'm older, I realize that I couldn't have, gone along with it. I couldn't have consented to anything. I was, 14, 15. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, the adults should have, shouldn't have done that in the first place. Like, if other people, knew about it, they should have stepped in. And there's a responsibility on everyone. And I wonder how this can really be enforced, because a lot of this harassment that we have heard about happens, after the convention, when people go back to their hotels or people go to after parties, and it's all kind of on the fringes of the convention itself, but everyone is still there because of it, and everyone knows each other because of it. So I hope that there may be more solutions. Maybe there are more like nonprofits or volunteers that step in to say, like, hey, like, if you need help, come to us. I think at Coachella they actually have something like that, where if you're at Coachella and you have been assaulted or harassed, there are people you can really go and talk to, or in general, there are people you can go and talk to seek help and seek advice from them. And there's a support system, even though that technically has nothing to do with the actual music festival. They still realize that these kinds of things happen there.
Yeah, we need that, and I would say in events like this and any type of convention where something like this could happen or occur, it's the, who do I call in this moment? Right. Who do I talk to? Who do I go to? Yeah, I need that. So we need to figure out a way to make this more of a commonplace, so that this damage doesn't continue, doesn't have the lasting ripple effect that it does. Because these individuals, if this proves to be true, and I say that obviously with what I said before, the damage is, you just can't undo it. No. I mean, it's permanent, and it's a trauma, and that's the one thing that I feel comfortable speaking on, is like, in my own traumas, I have to accept my imperfections now in my life, because there are just things that happen to me that I'm just never going to be able to get over, and my brain's just functioning the way it does now in certain circumstances. And to bring that back to the games, this reminds me of all the harassment in Valorant, and for some of these pro players, if they have been harassed or assaulted at a certain event, when they go back to compete, they're going to be distracted. That's going to affect their gameplay, and it really does, cross over to their career and just their livelihoods in general. It's not something that I don't think can be separated from, the video game world at all. I think they're really one and the same. Yeah. I couldn't agree more. So we'll definitely keep our eye on this story, see what happens. I think Evo is making the right decision and is handling this properly. And I really do like the choice of donating the equivalent proceeds over to Project Hope. I really commend them for that. I think it's a good move. Another good move that's not nearly as, I guess it's a lot more
what's the word? Not as important, I guess. Not nearly as important to the world, is that low population WoW servers are merging.
So, starting this summer, Steven Messner from PC Games has reported that World of Warcraft's lowest population servers are going to be merged with busier ones in a process that will take all summer. And Blizzard announced this today. It says that this isn't the first time that WoW has squished their servers together, but this is a welcome change for players stuck on a dead realm who don't want to pay for the cost of a server transfer.
Blizzard made the announcement on the WoW forums saying that it realizes that certain cross-realm features like being able to party up and do dungeons with players from different servers aren't a complete solution to being stuck on a low population server. From your history with your guild to your interactions with the economy around you, a realm with a healthy population provides more opportunities, and it's been several years since we last connected some realms, Blizzard wrote.
Blizzard recently finished a comprehensive study of WoW's various servers and has identified several that will be merged with bigger servers. The merge won't happen all at once, though, as Blizzard is going to slowly merge realms each week over the next 2 or 3 months.
Blizzard said, as this project unfolds, we will post notices in advance of each week's connections in the appropriate regions and languages. During each maintenance period, everything will be automatically combined for the affected realms. When maintenance is complete, players on affected realms will log into Battle for Azeroth and find that they're now part of a larger connected realm community. At the same time, we'll merge the appropriate realm discussion forums.
Honestly, that's great news, especially with the new Shadowlands expansion coming out later this year. Being on a dead realm is a serious bummer, and server transfers are ridiculously expensive. So if you're not happy with where your character is at, it might be worth it to just wait to see if your chosen server is due for a merge before jumping ship.
I think this is cool. I mean, after all, the WoW hype that happened last year, a lot of people, a lot of new players such as myself, joined into WoW, and I just kind of hopped on just any server. I was just like, I'm just gonna pick one that I like, that sounds cool, sure. But if that, is a dead server, that kind of sucks if you don't want to, pay to switch to one that maybe your friends are on. Yeah,
that's an interesting aspect of the game that I never really understood, but I guess it makes sense with how big and massive WoW is.
Mm-hmm.
If you are in that position, wait, just see what happens. If it turns out to be you, great, you've saved yourself some money. If not, and you need to make the decision to jump from a dead server over to one that's more, active, then so be it. But this is great for those who have just been sitting there like, I don't want to spend the money. Oh, hey, I might be lucky.
Thank you, Blizzard.
Yeah.
So I wanted to jump into this next story before we close out, since it is time sensitive. Because
it is.
Captain America is dropping into Fortnite just in time for the 4th of July.
Fortnite is killing it. Oh my God. We have a reveal trailer for Captain America.
Let's take a look. There we go, short and sweet.
So Joseph Newt from PC Gamers reported that Captain America is doing a superhero landing into Fortnite as a part of the game's 4th of July celebration. You can buy him now from the Fortnite item shop. The new skin also comes with some classic back bling and a new type of harvesting tool that's pretty different from anything we've ever seen in Fortnite before.
Currently, the Captain America skin only comes with one style, the version of Cap wearing his full helmet and half mask. That means if you're a fan of Steve Rogers with his helmet off, flashing those luscious sandy blonde locks, you're out of luck, unless Epic adds a new style in the future.
And you can get Captain America in the item shop for 2,000 V-Bucks, which is roughly $18 to $20.
But you'll also get Cap's Proto-Adamantium Shield as both back bling and as a harvesting tool. The item shop description isn't clear on whether you can use the shields for both at once, like could Cap take it off and put it back on, so we're not sure how that works until, one of us buys it. But as a harvesting tool, we love the idea of swinging around something other than a pickaxe or dual axes, and thankfully the shield is included in that 2,000 V-Buck price tag.
And there's also a grand salute emote that makes your character stand triumphantly in front of a shower of fireworks, and another nod to the 4th of July. It's honestly might be the only fireworks some of us get to see this year.
It's also worth noting that in the trailer we saw, Captain America very clearly arrives via the Bifrost, the magical teleportation bridge from the Thor universe. We've already got DC's Aquaman as our unique tie-in skin for the season, so does this mean we're getting more Marvel heroes, or dare we say it, a cross-franchise crossover? We doubt it, but we're talking about Fortnite here, so anything's possible.
I wouldn't be surprised, the Bifrost being the way that he shows up. I think they are very much letting you know right now who else is going to show up from the Bifrost. I mean, more and more Fortnite interests me because of the skins alone and just being able to play as those characters in that kind of setting.
Just in time for the 4th of July, and that brings us to the end of our news hour. So we hope if you want to celebrate in the metaverse that Fortnite is creating, you can do so. I mean, these might be the only fireworks that I am going to see this weekend, honestly, because I'm not going to be leaving my house still.
No. Yeah, it's the same. I do want to thank everyone for being here. Kai, I don't know if I'm going to dive in. I'm so torn right now. Warzone's getting under my skin, so maybe I do need something else to jump into. But thank you all so much for being here and being a part of this. And yeah, our first week doing daily gaming news here on Twitch. Thank you guys so much for everyone who celebrates it. Happy 4th of July to you all. Please stay safe out there. Wear a mask, socially distance. Respect what's still going on around us.
Thank you so much. And if you're looking for a schedule, it's in our panels every weekday from 1 to 2 p.m. Pacific time. There's also MARRONE'S and my social media linked there. If you're watching on YouTube, this is on Twitch. If you're watching on Twitch, this is going to be posted to YouTube. But thank you so much for joining us. And thank you for supporting us on our first week of our new venture.
Thank you very much to the donations that came in today and everyone that continues to support us. We look forward to continuing to bring this to you. For Daily Gaming News, I am Roan.
I am Kaisa. Thank you for joining us, and we hope you have a happy 4th of July weekend.
Have a wonderful weekend, everybody.